Just what does it mean to come back here and be able to play or to sass an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans. But for me, I'm way happier in it.
That had to have been one of, if not the most embarrassing loss of the season for the Indiana Fever so far. We lost to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the season, 77-58. We lost to the Valkyrie earlier in the season, 80-61. And tonight, against the Phoenix Mercury, we lose 95-60. Team practice. What I saw tonight looked like what I saw a month ago. Looked what I saw 3 weeks ago. Absolutely no offensive game plan. I thought this motion offense is when it's nobody's night in and night out. Everybody's allowed to have a night. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't play well, it needs miraculous efforts from the rest of the team to pick this up. Sophie Cunningham played great tonight. Kelsey Mitchell had a bad game. Bad game. Where's everybody else?
The Indiana Fever's road trip wrapped up in a complete nightmare, capped by a crushing 95-60 defeat at the hands of Phoenix. On top of that, 2 more major injuries hit the roster, and Dana Bonner stirred things up by talking smack during the post-game presser. But it was Sophie Cunningham who ultimately had the final say. In this breakdown, we'll dive into exactly what fell apart in Phoenix, Sophie's relentless push to keep the Fever alive, and most explosively, her fiery podcast revelations, where she laid bare the truth about how Dana Bonner really walked out on the team. Her comments about professional courtesy and saying goodbye will leave you stunned. If you're Team Sophie, drop Spicy Sophie in the comments. Let's get into it. The warning signs were clear from the opening minutes. The Fever couldn't buy a bucket if their lives depended on it. Shots clanged, sloppy passes were intercepted, and Phoenix was running away with the lead before many fans even settled in. This wasn't a slow warm-up. It was a full-on offensive meltdown unfolding live. The stats paint the ugly picture Fever fans wish they could erase. A miserable 34.3% shooting from the floor, an abysmal 7 for 30 from deep, and a staggering 22 turnovers, gifting Phoenix 42 points on a silver platter. When your opponents are scoring more off your mistakes than you are from beyond the arc, it's a recipe for disaster. But the worst blow came when Sydney Carlson went down with a non-contact knee injury, sending a wave of concern through the arena. Moments later, Ari McDonald was limping with foot issues. Just like that, an already shallow rotation became paper-thin. Watching 2 critical players fall in a lopsided loss was like getting knocked out while you're already on the canvas.
Steph, obviously, Sid had that injury and Ari left, I think, in the 4th quarter.
Yes.
What's the status of?
Well, it's Sid's left knee, Ari's right foot, and we'll get some more evaluation when we get home tomorrow and see our...
Sophie Cunningham making her return to Phoenix, and it seems as if nobody on our team other than Sophie Cunningham felt any type of emotional connection to this game. DeWanna Bonner just got done doing your team absolutely dirty. You guys escape with a victory when they come to Indiana, and you wipe your hands of it like it's all over and finished with. No, it goes both ways. You don't think we want to beat her on her home court? You don't think we want to get a W for Sophie Cunningham, making her return to the team that she spent her whole entire career with up until this point?
Sobley, tough shot, wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another 3. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
This game meant just as much to Sophie Cunningham as it did to the Indiana Fever when DeWanna Bonner made her return. The only difference is nobody on the Indiana Fever had Sophie Cunningham's back this time around. Sophie Cunningham was the only player trying hard. The only player giving effort, play in and play out. The only player getting into it with Alyssa Thomas, getting into it with DeWanna Bonner, getting into it with Kalia Copper, while everybody else just mailed it in. This game was embarrassing, folks.
Phoenix dominated from the opening tip to to the final buzzer, controlling every facet of the game. They crushed Indiana on the board 44-32 and made the Fever look completely out of sync on both offense and defense. Possession after possession, it felt like the Mercury were 3 steps ahead, playing at a higher level, while Indiana couldn't catch up. Their defensive pressure created turnovers, disrupted plays, and left the Fever scrambling with no answers. The lone bright spot for Indiana was Sophie Cunningham, who came ready to battle. She poured in 18 points on efficient shooting, trying to spark some life into her team as they struggled to get anything going offensively. Sophie fought hard to keep the game respectable, but she was up against an entire Mercury squad firing on all cylinders, and she couldn't carry it alone. That I in the stands. The mood among Fever fans was somber. You could see the frustration on their faces as the scoreboard gap kept widening. The sting of the loss was made worse by watching Phoenix celebrate each basket and defensive stop like it was a championship moment. This wasn't a case of missed shots or bad luck. It was a complete collapse that revealed just how vulnerable Indiana becomes when injuries hit their depth. And the drama didn't end when the game did. In the post-game media session, Diana Taurasi didn't hold back against her old team, dropping 23 points in her return. She made it clear how much this win meant, speaking about finding her competitive edge and how charged the night felt, as if she just scaled the tallest mountain.
You see that? Dawana Bonner hit her first 3-point shot in about 6 months and runs down the floor after losing her starting spot to Lexi Hull. Runs down the floor and calls Lexi Hull a bomb to her face. Dawana Bonner is out here calling Lexi Hull a bomb to her face.
Look at Bonner. And Cunningham's kind of got that innocent who me grin going, and nobody's buying it.
Wow, what a steal by Bonner, stepping right into it. And Sophie knows that doesn't want to create anything more. A little holding on. You think this is becoming a rivalry?
Oh, they're letting her have it now. They gave Cunningham a big ovation.
For sure. I mean, it sucks, right? You don't ever want to see anyone be injured on any team. I feel like there's been a lot of injuries this year in the W, harsh ones, I think. And, it's just another one. And Sid is still the heartbeat of our team. She's going to be okay. Our team's going to be okay. And again, it's just another hurdle that we're going to have to get over.
Bonner's 40 minutes on the court were far more than just basketball. They were a calculated statement. She clashed with Lexi Hull multiple times, locking eyes after buckets, and went toe-to-toe with Sophie Cunningham every time they shared the floor. It wasn't just competition. It was a show meant to humiliate her former teammates. Coach Nate Tibbetts, in his post-game remarks, praised her veteran fire, suggesting she'd been storing up energy for this exact matchup against Indiana. Phoenix approached the game like personal business rather than a standard contest, and Bonner fueled the drama with trash talk, theatrical celebrations, and prolonged stares after every shot or defensive stop, jawing with the Fever bench at every opportunity. When the buzzer sounded, the contrast was striking. Phoenix celebrated loudly, tossing verbal jabs, while Indiana stayed huddled, tending to injured players and talking about resilience in the face of adversity.
Do you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some F you type shit.
Like DB. Because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix. And then we gathered here into Indiana. And like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway. And so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer. She's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court. She got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career. So like she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're going to leave, like you're going to have to expect getting booed. Like,
was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately. Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And, yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some fuck you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
Yeah.
Bonner's recent performance seemed less like true basketball brilliance and more like an over-the-top attempt to prove a point to people who had long stopped caring. Every basket came with exaggerated celebrations, even as the Fever's focus was on Sydney Colson's knee injury. The post-game contrast was striking. Indiana's locker room spoke about unity and resilience, while Bonner and the Mercury appeared to revel in beating an undermanned squad missing key players. Her 23 points couldn't hide the fact that her attitude highlighted exactly why she never meshed with Indiana's team-first culture. Then Sophie Cunningham stepped in on her podcast with revelations that reframed the entire story. She acknowledged Bonner's Hall of Fame talent, but revealed that during her time with the Fever, she was deeply unhappy. And when she left mid-season, she didn't even send a simple text to her teammates. Think about that. Months of practicing, traveling, and building bonds. And she vanished without so much as a goodbye.
Like, I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy. But I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it. And, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that.
I doubt DeWanna Bonner had any idea that how dirty she did her teammates on her way out of Indiana would ever come out to light. But Sophie Cunningham said, hold my beer. I got a podcast. I got this platform. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to toe the company line. I'm not going to protect narratives. I'm not going to follow agendas. I'm going to tell you how it all went down. And DeWanna Bonner disappeared like a ghost.
Coming out. Cunningham picks up the board. Here she comes. Sophie steps into the three.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Is loving being in Indianapolis. She loves this team. She's feeling it on these.
Cunningham hesitates. Ball on the deck. Sweet dish inside for...
Sophie made it clear this wasn't about basketball tactics or playbook differences. That on her podcast, she explained that even a simple goodbye text would have avoided all the awkward tension and fallout after Bonner left Indianapolis. Instead of that basic courtesy, the team got nothing. Silence from someone they believed was a seasoned leader. Her podcast comments painted the image of a player who walked away without showing respect for the bonds she claimed to value. When Sophie spoke about accountability and leadership, it carried real weight because she's been the one holding the team together emotionally, while Bonner was off offering excuses somewhere else. You can literally hear the edge in Sophie's voice when she describes what professionalism should look like in moments like this, that it wasn't bitterness or trash talk. It was a simple explanation of how respect between teammates should work. Her honesty flipped the narrative around Bonner's big Phoenix performance, that it was an triumphant comeback. It was a grudge match against players she didn't even text goodbye. Sophie's bluntness revealed the gap between someone who pushes through tough times alongside her team and someone who vanishes when things get rough. While Bonner soaked up the satisfaction of her so-called revenge game, the bigger story was about Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hall, and the Fever's core showing what loyalty truly means. Sophie's 18 points and a lopsided loss proved the kind of grit and determination that separates title contenders from everyone else. She could have coasted once the game slipped away, but instead, she battled until the final buzzer.
Phoenix doing a nice job on the boards. We talked about that, leading by 10.
Wow.
7-17.
You look at all the stats that you love as Cunningham buries,
Staying hot.
buries another triple.
It's a tough call, and here's going to see the shot by the three-pointer against Copper.
Sably, top shot. Wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another three. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
Losing Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald could have been the perfect excuse for this group to crumble and start blaming each other. Instead, they pulled closer, rallying in every timeout, checking on their injured teammates instead of moping about the scoreboard. That's the difference between a roster that genuinely has each other's backs and one where players only care about their own box scores. Lexi Hull, staring Bonner down without flinching, said everything about this young Fever core spine. She refused to be bullied in her own house by a veteran trying to play mind games. Hull matched Bonner's energy, proving this team won't roll over for anyone, no matter how many all-star nods they've collected. The split between Bonner's look at me celebrations and the Fever's team-first approach spoke volumes about culture. One side chased personal grudges. The other worried about hurt teammates and keeping the group tight. That's the stuff that matters more than one result on the schedule. Fans have fully embraced this current squad because they embody something Bonner never gave them in Indianapolis. Genuine commitment to the Fever's future. They're building a foundation instead of looking for the exit when things get messy. Even without Caitlin Clark, this core has held onto the identity and values that make the Fever worth rooting for. They compete with passion, they protect each other, and they carry the city's pride into every game. The Phoenix loss stung, but it also confirmed the team's backbone isn't built on players who vanish when challenges hit. With Clark set to return soon, this rough stretch is about to fuel something far bigger. The Mercury game showed Indiana's weak spots, but it also spotlighted their true leaders. And Sophie Cunningham's unfiltered truth about Bonner's exit only reinforced that sometimes losing the wrong people is the biggest win of all. The Fever's loyal core has survived injuries, losses, and off-court drama, but they're still standing, shoulder to shoulder, while their ex-teammate celebrates beating a shorthanded squad. When the playoffs come, that character gap will matter. If you're riding with Sophie, drop Spicy Sophie in the comments, hit like, and turn on notifications.